Hello, I've got another update on the child safeguarding issue that you've been following with interest. One part of this video is a little bit that I forgot to tell you about on my last update, and the other part of the video is something new that I've done, and the last part of the video is what you can do, a bit of homework. So the bit that I forgot to tell you was this. When I went to the Second Kingdom Hall and there were the two elders that had visited me who'd both said that they'd never seen the child safeguarding document. The first elder, as I explained to you, seemed really genuinely interested and hadn't seen the document before. The second elder, when I gave him the elder's letter, he was really rattled, and he said, "Where did you get this from?" And you know, all of a sudden, I just didn't want to tell him. I didn't want to say, "Oh, I've got it off the internet," because I know how dismissive they are of that. And also, I could be wrong, but where I did get it from, which was JW Leaks, it appears to have disappeared from. Maybe for legal reasons, I don't know. And then I thought of a flip answer, and I thought of saying, "Oh, that's for me to know and you to find out." And you know, I hadn't really gone there to be antagonistic. And so I said, well, I suddenly remembered when they'd visited me how impressed he was that I was so up to date with all the Jehovah's Witness developments. And so I said to him, "You know, you said to me that I was really up to date on all the witness developments." I said, "I've done my research." I said, "You do your research." And he kept on pressing and saying, "Where did you get it from? Where did you get it from?" And I said, "Do your research. Do your research and get up to date like I have." And I wouldn't mention the internet. I didn't say, "Look on the internet." I just kept saying, "Do your research." And I just thought that that point was really important, you know, because they're so dismissive of anyone looking at anything on the internet. And yet, where else are you going to find out current, up-to-date information? And clearly I had found out a document that was theirs, that wasn't apostate literature, and he could see that. He couldn't criticise the fact that, you know, it wasn't made up, it wasn't apostate, it was a genuine document, and he just couldn't get his head around where I'd got it from. So now the update to this is a letter that I'm going to read to you, which is the letter that's going in the post today to London Bethel. I'll just make sure my address. So this is the letter that I shall be sending. Okay, and I'm going to read it out to you. Dear Designated Safeguarding Officer, reference LEH. I always write to LEH because, you know, I think it's quite nice, even though we all know he doesn't exist. And we all know that it's not going to be LEH that reads the letters, but I'm liking to make a point about the safeguarding officer. Thank you for sending two elders to visit me following our correspondence. I was incredibly surprised and shocked to learn that neither of the elders had heard of the child safeguarding policy when I asked for a copy, and indeed did not believe that such a document existed, assuming it was an apostate document. Neither of them were able to tell me who the designated safeguarding officer was, and had no knowledge at all that such a person existed, as described in the safeguarding policy, page 3, item 8. Open speech mark, because I'm quoting from their child safeguarding policy now. The branch committee has appointed elders at the branch office to act as safeguarding elders. These elders will receive initial and periodic training. Close speech marks. I have therefore managed to secure a copy of the safeguarding policy and the elders' letter re child abuse 1st of October 2012, and I have distributed both documents among my local elders. I intend to distribute these documents on your behalf to as many elders as possible in congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses, as you seem to have failed to inform your bodies of elders about the loving provision from Jehovah of a safeguarding officer that any congregant is allowed to speak to and obtain advice from. Child safeguarding policy, page 3, item 8, and I'm quote again, "The role of a safeguarding officer is to receive reports, questions or inquiries from elders or other members of the congregation." Close speech marks. Then I say, it would be a great shame if the elders had been misled into preventing congregants from speaking to the safeguarding officer based on misleading advice in the elders' letter 1st of October 2012, when the public policy document clearly states that any member of the congregation can ask questions of them. I have also distributed the attached court document to the elders, as the elders that visited me thought that the Candace Conti case was a false rumour, telling me, "You cannot believe everything you read in the papers." Legal documents are clearly not apostate literature, and so I am keeping our dear elders' faith safe with truthful documents only. Yours faithfully, and working on your behalf to distribute the loving provision from Jehovah of a safeguarding officer, Louise Good. And the document that I will attach to the letter going to Bethel is this one. And again, if you want a copy from me, please feel free to email me. This is the court document. As you can see, it's got a court stamp on it. And it just basically lists the amounts of money that the Jehovah's Witnesses and the congregation in that case were ordered to pay Candace Conti. It's a court document, there's no arguing with it, it's not apostate literature, and so it's perfectly right and legal and not apostate to distribute this along with the other documents. Okay, now you might be thinking, what is the point of doing this? Okay, the first congregation that I visited, the elder said he'd already seen the documents, so what's the point of giving them him again? Well, he may well have read both documents separately, but you don't always put things together, do you? And what he might not have seen were the 2 paragraphs in each document that I highlighted with a lighter pen that showed that they completely contradict each other. So the public safeguarding policy that goes out to members of the public says that any member of the congregation can speak to the safeguarding officer. The private elders letter at the bottom of page 1 says that elders must not let congregants speak to the, well, it doesn't say safeguarding officer, it says legal department, but you and I know that they say legal department because there is no such thing as a safeguarding officer. So the elders might not have seen those 2 conflicting statements together at the same time. They might not have realised that the governing body are lying in one or other of the documents. So even if the elder says, I've seen these documents, I think there's still a value in taking the 2 documents and giving them to them. You don't have to explain that to them, you can just highlight it and give it to them and let them work it out themselves. The second scenario is when they absolutely haven't seen or heard of the documents at all, which was the same as the second congregation I visited. And in that instance, it's really valuable to let them know it. Not in an antagonistic way, you know, not in, look what I know that you don't know, but in a genuine, did you realise that the organisation that's expecting full loyalty from you has this document, and as an elder you're bound by it and you'll be legally liable for the terms in it, and it's a kindness to give it to them. So I think there's a great value in distributing these documents. Here's the other thing, I don't really have balls of steel. I know it comes over like I do, and sometimes I crack jokes about it and the rest. I was absolutely shitting myself before I went to both congregations. I was in just abject fear. My stomach was churning, my mouth was dry. I had to have a glass of wine before I went to steady myself a little bit. I know that sounds awful, but I did. But I kept thinking to myself, what are they going to do? They can't beat me up, can they? They can't physically get hold of me and throw me out. And in the absence of physical fear, what else is there? What can they do? Scowl at me? Give me the frowning of a lifetime? Well, I can scowl as well. So it's a social convention fear, isn't it? It's the fear of not wanting to offend people. But I think it's possible to go in and do it nicely without being offensive. You don't have to be antagonistic. You don't have to go, look at this, look what I've got. I went in and said, look, you said that you didn't know about these documents, so I'm just bringing them for you. It's your documents and I've just copied them out for you. Job's a good one. So you can do anything that I've done. This is not my story. This could be all of our stories. This could be your story. You could pick this up and do any part of this and it become your story. You could video it, you could record it, you could stick it on YouTube. I don't have, you know, a bloody monopoly on this story. I don't care if 1 million people do this and do better than me and get better results. That would be amazing. So here's the last part of the video, a little bit of homework should you choose to do it. If you want any of these documents, I will email them to you. A little thought I had was that some people are putting their emails on the comments, so what I'm going to do, if you put it in a public comment, as soon as I've sent you the documents, I will remove your comment with your email on so that nobody else can use that email. Some people are managing to send me private messages, which is safe because only I can see the email, and I'll just send you the documents and then that's it. And some people are finding me on Facebook and asking for the documents through the private messages facility on Facebook. However you find me, I will send you the documents, and then if your email is open for other people to read, I'll then remove that so that nobody else can see it. The only thing about this is that the safeguarding document is quite a hefty one to photocopy. I think it's about 57 pages. So if you can safely and legally copy it at work, then I'm not saying that's what I did, but I might have done. It's a big old document, okay? You might be able to reduce it down to two pages per page and do it double-sided. That'd make it entirely manageable. The point is, when the elders see that document, they know it's from the governing body. It's got all the hallmarks of it. It can't be faked. Okay? The more of us do this, the more truthful my letter to Bethel is, saying that we're distributing the safeguarding policy to all their elders on their behalf. We're working for them, and we're doing it as a loving provision so that everybody knows that there's a safeguarding officer. Which of course there isn't, it's complete bullshit. So enjoy yourself. Email me for the documents if you want. Use them privately, use them with friends and relatives. Don't use them antagonistically, use them in a spirit of help and you know, kindness. And I'm sure you will get some results if we all act together. I will keep you updated. Thank you for listening.